We recently took a closer look at Omar White, and now we're taking a closer look at Eric Brantley, also a 2024 defensive line recruit, also from Valdosta High School in South Georgia, also an early commit for the Buffaloes. William, what do you think about Eric Brantley, and how does he compare with White as a defensive lineman?
Well, first of all, he's an entirely different breed of defensive lineman. He's really what he's a pure edge. And you look at him and he plays on that outside edge, whether they're in a three-man or a four-man front, he plays out there. He's about, listed 6'2", 250, but he runs and moves like a linebacker. And it kind of blows my mind every time you watch the film. He and Omar White play next to each other. And I guess the only answer for an offense is go the other direction, except they'll probably run you down too. And the defensive end on that side looks pretty big as well. But having two guys like that on a high school defensive line seems almost criminal. But Brantley's an entirely different player than Omar White. Omar White's going to play those three inside spots or the two inside spots on a four-man line. Could play the end if you needed him to. But Eric Brantley is going to be a pass rusher on the edge. And to illustrate that, I would have people go to the 31-second mark where he's sort of lined up. He's at what I call a tilt, where he's sort of pointed in at a 45-degree angle, at a 5 or a 7 technique there. And he takes on that offensive tackle, and he just has beautiful hand moves, a little hand punching and a rip and a swim, and runs and sacks the quarterback. But if you watch his video, he could just really run. He runs like a Power 5 linebacker, and at 6'2", 250, he's not far off of that size range anyway. One of the things, if I had time, and I haven't had time recently, is I'd like to watch Omar White's highlight film to watch Brantley, and watch Brantley's highlight film to watch White, because when you really find out about kids is when you're not watching their handpicked highlights, right? See what they're doing in those plays. But I haven't done that yet. Hope to get around to that. But Eric Brantley, I think, is a kid who comes in and challenges for playing time right off the bat. He's got all the athleticism and length and speed and quickness that you want from a defensive end. I think he's a guy who's a sack threat, a quarterback pressure guy right from the start, and maybe comes in and is one of the best we have on the team. Some of our transfer edge guys are older players, and Brantley can come in and play behind them for a year and be ready to go in his second year. But I think he's as good a defensive lineman as we've had in the last 10 years. He's just a more of an outside edge type of player.
White and Brantley had developed a strong relationship with Nick Williams when he was at Texas A&M and Charles Kelly when he was at Alabama. So Coach Bryan brings William and Kelly both on staff in Boulder. It obviously created a great opportunity for both White and Brantley to jump on board. You often hear, William, that defensive line is the toughest position to recruit just because it's hard to find big bodies that are also extremely mobile. To have two big frame 2024 defensive linemen on board right out the chute, it sure feels different than a lot of previous recruiting cycles with the Buffaloes, doesn't it?
Well, we barely, we've almost haven't recruited the defensive line much in the last 10 years. And, Chris Wilson didn't do anything with it. And I keep wanting to say Romeo Banison, but I mean, Jim Jeffcoat wasn't a good recruiter. And so it's been rough we've had to rely almost exclusively on, under recruited guys that kind of got overlooked, and try to build them into players. And we've got some good guys that are older guys that way this year. But to fill up with Omar White and Eric Brantley is going to change the dynamic of this team. The most common one of the most common tropes in football is that you got to have defensive line. Championship teams have great defensive lines, and these are the kinds of guys that give you those great defensive lines. Because Brantley's going to hold down the middle, or excuse me, White's going to hold down the middle, and Brantley, I think, is just going to be a sack threat from day one. So, and also big enough to hold that edge in the run game as well. So these are the kinds of guys that are entirely the difference between the kind of recruiting we've seen before. And I would bet we're not done filling that defensive line either, because I think this coaching staff understands how important they are.
All right, that was our look at 2024 Colorado defensive line commit, Eric Brantley.